Saddle up, heathens. Yeehaw.
Rawhide!
It's Old Testament shit.
Oh, sacrifice the kids.
Not gonna lie, it gets a little wacky. It gets a little wacky in this. We've got a lot of dick cutting.
What?
With the circumcision and whatnot, right?
Oh, shit.
We've got some, well, it's not quite wife swapping.
Oh, okay.
Since one of them is owned by the other person.
Okay.
But there's definitely a lot of sex.
Sweet.
There's a lot of banging going on.
Oh,
so
right. Fuck yeah. Yeah.
you know, we're just reading the Bible here.
We're just
we're
reading
trying
God's
to
word.
be good Christians.
Just trying to be good.
Why don't you pull up a bong and make yourself comfortable? Let's do this shit.
I'm really stoked on the spiritual but not religious.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I don't need, and I'm not. You know, I have to do me, right? I know you do you, and but a lot of time I feel self-conscious about it because it's like you do you, so you've been whatever, fuck it. Like I don't care about Jesus Christ, and I don't mean to like. I don't mean in a way that like fuck everybody who like. I'm not trying to. I'm not talking badly about people who believe that. It's just like I don't need a person. I don't need that. I just need to be a better person. I need me to be a better person. I need me to be the best person I can be, and want to. You know, and the part where I think the churches do they do as good a job as anyone does. They do as good a job as any organizations do to help people. I think.
What churches?
I think all of them. Like they do. I think that their motives are 50-50. You know, they want butts and seats, but they get paid to do it. You know, it's like they get parishioners who give them 10% of their money, so it behooves them to go take care of the widow with 3 kids because her kids are going to have kids, you know? And so I it's not about, but the, you know, the Jesus Christ thing is I always have to push back a little bit because it's like, that's not where I live.
I'm not. So it's cool that it's, you know, we'll be in Genesis 15, but like, I like these stories. I like us getting into this stuff this way because if you read this book and you take every part of it literally, I think it breeds complete evil.
Well, and we've decided that you shouldn't do that.
Right.
You shouldn't take it literally. But some parts, there are some parts.
Yeah. And if you do that, so with that, if you do that, the stories of Jesus, and you take the stories of Jesus, they're kind of fucking badass. Like, I like that. So yeah.
The withering. We're super into withering. But the other thing, like, I was going to ask you this, where does confession show up in the Bible?
Oh man.
Confess.
Google
the fucking.
No, I'm gonna guess shit. It's like I'm gonna guess it's like David, because after David. Sorry, go ahead.
The other thing is that, you know, and this just to kind of close the loop on the Jesus Christ thing, you were talking about the guy who came after Jesus who actually did what Jesus was trying to do and overthrow and like, but we don't talk about that guy. You know what I mean? That's what, like the whole Jesus Christ thing. We wouldn't even know him if these people hadn't. It seems like if they hadn't decided, oh, we can really do something with this guy. Like this guy plays.
You're bringing up such rad shit. So we should, and maybe we'll just devote. Maybe before because Genesis is like 50 chapters, I believe. So when we go into the New Testament, I do want to go like right into the Gospels, and those are the stories of Jesus. So maybe we devote the first couple podcasts to talking about Jesus, because there's 2 Jesuses really. There's a historical Jesus that we can know through where he was born, what the people that lived in that area were like, what the records and receipts from work and like all life that happened back then. There's that Jesus. And then there's the Jesus that gets painted in the Bible, because they're kind of different. And we know we know that stories get elaborated. We know that stories get added on. We know that our copies of the whole New Testament, where it's like the whole book of John, the whole book of Matthew, are very late. We have little fragments of the very first one, so we know some of those passages existed. Pretty old, but
again, not written by the guys whose name are on them.
That's why it almost seems like maybe it's a prerequisite before we get into the New Testament. Maybe I'll make you read this book. Yeah, because I know this doesn't have much to do with what we're going into today, but it begs the question, right? And when I say anything, when I'm adopting, I'm going to only take the good shit out of this book. I'm going to leave the homophobia. I'm going to leave the sexism. I'm going to leave the pro-slavery. I'm going to leave all of that shit and say, like we're saying that is gross, evil, a product of the times, unfortunately. But, and I don't even, we can discuss on that later date whether or not Jesus, was real, because if you look at him historically, he's much more like Osama bin Laden than he is anything else.
Wow.
It's true.
Well, and so the other analogy first of all, the person the picture that's been painted is not reality. That's a thing that's been used. It's like Lou Ferrigno, the actor.
The guy that played the Hulk,
and then the Incredible Hulk. It's that's not Lou Ferrigno. Lou Ferrigno is not the Incredible Hulk. He's just a guy who had some extraordinary physical attributes, and he happened to be dead. But you know what I mean? It's not the same thing, and there is no Incredible Hulk. That's something that was made up by people.
Yeah, that's why I think it's because we're so far back in the book, right now.
What about that dope Lou Ferrigno drop though?
That was pretty good.
I'm surprised.
It's amazing what you work in.
I'm surprised the Beastie Boys never dropped Lou Ferrigno's name, because you could Lou Ferrigno,
dude. It rhymes well too.
Yeah.
What? So good. I can't even.
It's
can't
a mic
even
drop.
be on it.
Actually, there's a drop. There's mic drop. I don't know. Let's just go into it though,
shall we? Yeah. So, let me smoke some weed and then
I'll go fill up my coffee. I meant to tell you before I get into the Bible. I went out and met a bunch of people hadn't seen in easily in 2 years, since before COVID. Big group of us. And at the very end, this friend of mine, she doesn't even matter. We ended up on the top floor of this Seattle skyscraper.
Cool.
It's in one of those apartment buildings, condos, whatever.
Okay.
And,
Yeah.
And while we're there, she's like, "Oh, hey, do you could you use a bunch of mushrooms?"
Damn.
She reaches in her pocket and gives me a handful of mushrooms. I'm like, I didn't see that coming. I didn't know that. Just dry. I'm like, oh, these? I don't know. What? Maybe. Yeah. And I didn't realize we got sort of into our cups that night. So I sort of forgot until I found them on my nightstand yesterday, basically. Oh, fuck. Yeah, I got a handful of mushrooms the other night.
Was it fun?
So I didn't do them.
Oh.
I didn't do any. But yeah, so if you know he needs apparently there's a lot.
You should do them, and you and Katie. I have never found anything more, maybe yoga, anything more fast acting and beneficial for your body and mind than mushrooms.
than a nice dose of psilocybin.
Big one. Take as big as you can. You do it every 10 years.
Don't be like that.
Or do it. Or jump off. Have
You
fun.
don't want to
See what
tell.
happens.
Oh, I know what happens. But you
Yeah,
can't tell people to do as much as you can. Don't say that to people. Not everyone is you.
not everyone should, and people will
not-
have
not
adverse
everyone is-
reactions. But
Well, no, but it's just like if you take as much as you like, not every, you do a lot because you like to get all the way in.
yeah,
A lot of people just want to stick their, up to their knees in the water.
And-
Not
and
everybody
that
wants to dive
works.
head first.
and
Yeah.
that works. You got Steve Jobs up in that bitch with you. You guys are, it's a good company, microdosers. Oh yeah, everyone in Silicon Valley microdoses. Yeah, yeah, and
Ding. Fact
but
check.
like if so, I guess this is what I have found out. And again, I'm not like the craziest psychonaut, right? Like I've done drugs, but like I
I've
got
done
kids.
drugs. I've done drugs.
Yeah, but like, I got kids, man. I work. Like I wake up early and make help with math problems and shit. So, but people have fear when they're taking a drug because those people want to be in control of everything. And that's all of us for the most part, right? But I've never been in control. My life's been so chaotic that I'm really comfortable, like sitting in the chaos, and as long as you,
Immersed.
yeah, if you don't lie and you always give love, you'll have the best trip. You'll have so much fun.
That's I don't think that's enough. Like we can't use that as our guideline for people because it's like some people are just going to not, it's like
No,
that's
yeah,
not-
I get evangelistic about things that work, and so drugs, unfortunately, for a long time, were one of those things. And I'd be like, yeah, just like eight dried grams, but like
that's
wrong.
that's sort of how it's landing. And it's like,
yeah.
What
Okay,
we're not
forgive me.
doing is telling people to just go take a bunch of drugs because all you have to do is not lie and be good, and you'll have a great trip. Because that's not true. Like
That's my experience. I've even had like
I
universes
totally get that.
eating me.
Yeah. But that's not like we're not as an organization. That's not our party line.
No, this is a member talking about an experience. So,
Yeah.
And what I am going to say, I do think is real, is when you take like a bunch of mushrooms, one thing you can't lie. You can't lie at all.
Oh, you can. You can.
How?
You can. Well, that's when you have a bad trip, and I'm just saying that people can. Like they can. You fight yourself. You fight yourself. You are unwilling to acquiesce to what your insides are showing you. You can refuse. Like you're still you.
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah. I've never been able to do that over there, so that's interesting.
You've never had a bad trip. That's what we're talking.
Oh, I've
about.
had a lot of bad trips.
Well, you
Yeah.
said, but even the bad ones are good, though.
You can turn them good. That's the thing. Is in the middle of it, there's going to be like in the deepest hell you go to, you're going to be able to find something, a light to get you out of it. Like I went to a
Hope was again. You did. We can't. we can't say that. We're not saying. No, seriously. It's like we can't.
No,
just,
I agree.
I think it's irresponsible to just leave that as like this is. You too can find the light out of this horrible trip if you take a handful of mushrooms because that's not the case.
No, that's not what I'm trying. That's not what I'm trying to say. And I understand what you're trying to say, but you're also dampening my story, man. I'm just trying to get
I'm
through
sorry,
my
but
story.
it's like no. Okay. Well, then
Because
say
it is just like one angle.
Yeah, for sure. Okay.
Yeah,
But
yeah. See, so
but
it's like
they're so strong. They're so strong that it's like I feel like we have to tamp down. If you're saying I have this thing, I have this ability to do this, that's different than saying everyone should do this. You know what I mean?
no.
Like,
I get really like we've already tried in this rant, which is perfect. I get really evangelical because I'm just into the things I'm into, and it really helped me, and that help has led to financial success, relationship success. In fact, a guy, which I've already said on here, but a teacher, this eye surgeon I used to teach lessons to, tried to give me mushrooms forever ago. And he was like, if you take one psychedelic mushroom trip in your life, they have research that's showing like you're more monogamous, you're more successful, you're more spiritual, you're more basically living a better quality life 10 years down the road. And they still have that research, and from what I've gathered, it seems to be true. So like maybe it's not, but at the same time, and what we're trying to say is like I feel like you might get a better benefit from just doing yoga 4 times a week. You might get you might get that same benefit for you if you just read the Bible every morning for 30 minutes. Like who knows?
Well, I'm a huge fan of people doing mushrooms. I think everyone should do mushrooms. I think that everyone should do mushrooms. I'm not saying like I agree with the evangelistic approach. Like I think everyone should have a psychedelic experience before they pass through.
Okay, I like this.
But I think a lot of people need a guide. A lot of people would need someone to hold their hand and tell them everything's okay. Like you and your partner take turns. Like I'm right. Like I'm right here. I'm not high, and you're going to be okay if it goes sideways or whatever, or like a real guy, like a professional. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe so that's what our church offers eventually because it's legal. And
okay.
Yeah, maybe I'll fucking go to school. I'll get all the shit.
Yeah. Well, that's like I don't know that. Like, so what are maybe that's something we need to research is what do the people at Johns Hopkins, the guides, what are they, what's their, what are their credentials?
Seems like quite a bit. I almost did a ketamine. But
I've heard of it. I've never done that. Seems
I haven't either, but it was through a psychiatrist. But I just like
it was a psychiatrist. Like so that's something they're using in the same way they're using the DMTs and the.
But I don't know if it's I think it's not covered by insurance. It's quite expensive. And to be honest, all I need, I got a mouth guard that allows me to not snore and sleep better, and it fixed all those problems. So, I fixed it a different way.
Perfect.
Yeah, but
they were gonna give you a ketamine trip to try to fix your sleeping. You're like,
no, I have intense depression. Like, I'm really good with it because I've had it for so long. Because my life, and also like, it's kind of this weird thing where my parents like, I go back and forth with my childhood, because like, I love them so much, and in a lot of ways, they gave me like the best thing anyone could ever give their children, their child, but like, dude, growing up was fucking hard. It was cold and it was wet and it was like Fight Club and it was fucking hard. Yeah. Like it was, and so,
well, like you said, it is a gift, but you had to pay for it. Who you are, the open-minded person you are, is a direct reflection of how you were raised.
Yeah,
it's not how they intended.
No, it's pretty
but
funny.
It's who you became. Yeah, totally. But it's like but had they not, God, growing up is fucking hard.
It's hard on anyone.
It is hard on anyone. But like, yeah, I don't know. We should read the Bible.
Yeah, we will.
I'm glad you are who you are, dude. And that's it would be a horrible thing if you weren't.
Dude, I cannot wait for Thursday every week. Cannot wait for this shit. So, we've been like blowing. So normally I get so nerdy, right? And I'll just read, like I was always assuming in our head we'd do a chapter an episode. And like, I'm glad we're not, because there's so much in here, and like
go back through it, man.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and like, so when we're reading these, again, I'm trying to put myself like back then, and we might miss some shit, but we're trying our motherfucking best. So I've been reading the.
And what we are doing? We might miss some shit. What we are doing? We're reading the Bible. So if people want to, like, people can call, whatever. It's like, and it'll be interesting if anybody ever starts, listens, and get some animosity about this or that. It's like, read your own fucking, You read the Bible. It's like
Yeah.
you're only reading along
Yeah.
because we're reading along. Like
Yeah.
we're the bouncing ball. Okay, we're the bouncing ball.
Yeah, and it starts with being way too honest. So come on, follow along. Oh, so this Abraham, or right now as we know him, Abram, he's a real big deal for the ancient Near East. So I'm excited to get into this.
Should I do a recap of Abram?
It's like these stories get so gnarly, and there's just so like we've had some. Like we were saying, like when this man Abram's introduced, it's like the Bible now becomes about like history, because this guy lived like well, he was, he's a real person from 2000, 1400 BCE. I mean,
All right.
okay.
Okay.
I mean, the dates line up.
Okay, he's
Let's
a
say
real
that.
guy.
Oh wait, fuck, you cut out.
He's a real guy who hangs out with God. Oh, he's a real guy, hangs out with God.
Well, let's think about something. Like
Let's answer that question. You said he's a real guy, and I asked you, he's a real guy because who hangs out with God? This says he talks to God.
So now, if I was a fundamentalist,
He's smoking DMT.
if I was,
I love the bush. I love the burning bush. And another thing, God, you fucker, I'm not killing my son.
Dude, the bargaining, like it's so crazy. Wait, I mean, that's so far ahead. God damn it.
Hey, no spoilers, man. It's the Bible.
I get so excited. But like, no, so if we're just being logical and you're thinking about like how this shit came about, right?
Shit came about? The
Bible, yeah, the stories. I bet this was a real person who was super wealthy. If they didn't have, if we didn't have the way to record and transmit information through history as we do now, like with this medium, people will get deified after a couple 100 years, 1,000 years, right? I'm sure the stories get changed over time to adapt to the best knowledge that these people were working with morality and stuff like that. So the person was real, but no, I don't. They're trying to tie their lineage to this guy
who's they?
Sons
of Abraham.
Jews, Judaism, and Muslims.
Okay.
They both come from this guy.
What?
Yeah,
they both come? I thought that Muhammad and...
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And who's Muhammad's brother?
Well, I don't want to spoil it, but it's
the Bible, dude.
There's a prophet, there's a person of the Muslim faith that's we meet pretty soon. So yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Okay. So let's just dive in. Genesis 15. Sometime later, the word of the Lord came to Abram.
Hold on. I'm not even there yet. Oh.
Why didn't you tell me?
Parading, stampeding to 15. Hold on. Where are we? Okay, there we go. 15.
I got a DC Talk shirt coming in the mail.
Nice. What is that?
You've never heard of DC Talk?
I have heard of it. I just don't know what it is.
They're a band. They're a Christian band.
Oh, that's right. You said you're going to start rocking the.
I've got so many.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yep. Okay, go ahead. I'm ready. Okay, I'm ready.
Oh, you ready now?
Yeah. We should do the recap though, or should we not? And like
I kind of thought I was doing real quick recap when we did the build up to this, but what do you need? What do you
just
want?
That Abram used his wife to bang a bunch of people to marry some like to.
I don't know if they banged. Right? Oh, they might have in this one because it happened.
She married him.
I can't remember.
She married the king's like, dude, what are you doing? You're married to her, and then I married her. That makes me like your seconds or whatever. Do
you remember what he said for her to do? Do you remember what he tells her to do?
Yeah, like you're so beautiful that they're gonna want to. You need to tell them that I'm your brother, not husband, or they'll kill me. Yeah, and So, but it seemed like he might have done that a couple of times. He was like pimping his girl and he got paid off on all these, and that's why he's rich. And then he sends his son away. You were thinking his son, they were like, you were thinking that his son like took the best and sort of screwed him, or his nephew, And I was like, oh, I think that he was just, they're part of family. So it wasn't this thing. You were
Oh, we're
thinking
talking
there was
about
beef.
Lot, yeah. Mm-hmm.
You were thinking there was beef. And I was like, it didn't really land on me that way. But anyway, he's super rich. And that's how he got rich. That's what I just wanted to like reiterate, because that's the craziest shit ever.
There's some crazy shit.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's
I think that catches us up pretty good on this guy, Abram. So
what wasn't there there was a but the Sodom of the Gomorrah part though.
Well, Sodom and Gomorrah hasn't happened just yet in the way that people like to talk about it. It's been mentioned because the kings of that came out and they all helped, right?
Right.
And then
But
and then there was that cool part where that king was like Melchizedek, I believe his name was, where he's like Elohim, 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 and then Abraham right at the end is like Yahweh, So we're kind of seeing that tension build.
yeah. Okay. Yeah. I just wanted to, because that I like, remember, I'm your brother. I'm your brother. I don't want to catch some steel.
No, there's motherfucking our beliefs are basically completely aligned. I'm just trying my best. Like, I've been such a dick. It's just truth. Like, especially because the problem is I did believe them, and I did think this was the word of God, and I did read it every day like God was coming back, and so
again, it's not your. That's you were brainwashed into
and indoctrinated.
It wasn't your.
Sorry,
it just wasn't your. It wasn't your. It wasn't your choice.
No,
It wasn't an open-minded, like fully functioning adult who's like, "Yep, it's inerrant."
Yeah, and I think by learning how to kindly respect those views, we might be able to actually help people who are struggling. Because I think if you're going to church and you're trying to learn about God, I think you're probably a pretty damn good person at heart. Like, you're at least trying, and for me and for many other people who find out that it's just like a game of church politics, and obviously this isn't every church, but maybe you had an experience like me, so maybe these words can help like bridge the gap in your mind between the fundamentalist upbringing that has been forced upon you and reality of these stories and scriptures that are so much crazier and deeper than you've ever been allowed to even think. So, I'm hoping to get them to the psychedelic trip area of how crazy this shit is by kind of always, at least just not being a jerk, just trying my best to be kind. You know what I'm saying? Might have to edit most of that out, huh?
And, well, I was like, the part, and God, if it's helpful, if you and I unpacking our shit is helpful, that's awesome. I don't feel like we can shoot for that. I don't
think just blaze a trail.
What's that?
Just blaze a trail. Not even worry about it.
I don't know. Like, it feels super conspicuous to be like, maybe we can help people.
Oh, man, I don't think so. I think that, I know it's crazy, and maybe it might just be my upbringing because I'm so deep in it. And that, when you're that deep in it, like I was,
and that's
it's
what
really
I thought.
hard to reach.
That's what I thought when you were saying that, is like, it's different for you. You can actually, like, if you're talking about people like that grew up the way you grew up, and that's something I totally can't relate to.
Yeah.
And I just get, and so I just hear your words and like try to relate it to my existence. And it feels really like I couldn't say that. I couldn't say, oh, we can help someone.
That's beautiful.
Like, not teachers. It isn't, we're like, it's like, this is like group therapy at best. And just two raving lunatics at worst,
But like, yeah, we're shaping this, and maybe I just lay off that. maybe I lay off that angle, because I'm definitely trying to
Oh, I just
because, and one of the things I'll say is that when I would be driving in the car and Man in the Box would come on, I would turn the radio off when it said Jesus Christ, and then I would turn it back on.
dude, you are so deep. I can't even
Right.
like. It's like
It's
I
Hail
can't
Bop Comet shit. You know what I'm saying?
No.
Oh, you don't remember that comment?
like cultish.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is Hail Bop. We were talking about that.
Yeah.
My wife and I were just talking about that. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah. I thought it was Hail Bop, but yeah, no, it's sort of hard. No, I mean, even when I met you, it's hard to believe that you were that person, because we would have conversations like this, and I would be like one of these things is not like the other. It's like there's a like I see the clouds, but I can't see the true horizon. Like I can see it's misty in there. It's like there's a fog in there that I can sense. It's just it was so strange to like. And so I got it, but like I really didn't understand, or I would have like taken more of an aggressive interest, I think.
See, but that's this all played out for this, right? And that's where I don't think we have to go into this with some self-righteousness shit, like we're going to become a church and we're going to lead people to the truth. I'm not saying that. I'm saying, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Well, that's the thing, is like, if we do that, like I am fully into doing that, like not leading people to the truth. It has nothing to do with, it's like if we start a church for us, like so that we can have a place that we're like, that we can be spiritual but not religious. And if that resonates with people, that's on them. I'm not trying to lead anybody. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, no, I just am never not going to feel for some of the beautiful human beings that I've met along my journey that are stuck in that way, like me. Like, you know who Megan Phelps is?
Maybe.
She's part of the family of the Westboro Baptist Church.
Is she the one that went on Rogan?
Yes. That's years ago. I was working a
she got
shitty
out,
job.
right?
Yeah, through Twitter.
She got out through Twitter?
People argued with her on Twitter about Bible stuff, and then eventually, because there's a lot of knowledge out there on the internet, and there's access to scholars, people who study the books, read the languages, dig in the areas, you can use logic and dates and times to combat these fundamentalist cults. And that one, I believe, is. And I know I go hard in the paint on that shit. Like, even the last podcast was a little rough with that. Like, I got real mad. It was from a couple weeks ago, so you won't remember, right? But like, it was just like, we're talking about specific abuses of this, and it's horrible to me when someone like acts like they know the path to God, and then they take these, people who have good intentions and hurt them. So I think we already have some heavy editing because you got to go. Let's jump into the verses. Yeah. But I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Gathering.
Word. Okay, so this is Genesis 15. Are you ready?
Get on it.
Yeah. Sometime later, the word of the Lord came to Abram in a vision. He said, "Fear not, Abram. I am a shield to you. Your reward shall be very great." But Abram said, "O Lord God, what can you give me, seeing that I shall die childless? And the one in charge of my household is Damzik Eliezer." Abram said further, "Since you have granted me no offspring, my steward will be my heir." The word of the Lord came to him in reply, "That one shall not be your heir. None but your very own issue shall be your heir." He took him outside and said, "Look towards the heavens and count the stars, if you are able to count them." And he added, "So shall your offspring be." And because He put his trust in the Lord. He reckoned it to his merit. That in the translation I grew up with always said, he accounted it to him as righteousness. I think that's how most people would remember that. Let me keep going because it gets so juicy. I don't want to get through it all. Then he said to him, I am the Lord who brought you up from Ur of the Chaldeans to assign this land to you as a possession. And he said, O Lord God, how shall I know that I am to possess it? He answered, bring me a 3-year-old heifer, a 3-year-old she-goat, a 3-year-old ram, a turtle dove, and a young bird. He brought him all these and cut them in two, placing them half opposite the other. But he said, do not cut up the bird. Birds of prey came down upon the carcasses, and Abram drove them away. As the sun was about to set, a deep sleep fell upon Abram, and a great dark dread descended upon him. And he said to Abram, know well that your offspring shall be strangers in a land not theirs, and they shall be enslaved and oppressed 400 years. But I will execute judgment on the nation. They shall serve, and in the end they shall go free with great wealth. As for you, you shall go to your fathers in peace. You shall be buried at a ripe old age. And they shall return here in the 4th generation, for the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet complete. When the sun set, it was very dark. There appeared a smoking oven and a flaming torch which passed between those pieces. On that day the Lord made a covenant with Abram, saying, to your offspring I assign this land, from the river of Egypt to the great river and the river Euphrates. I'll just finish that. The Kezanites, the Kenites, the Kezanites, the Candamites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, and the Rephaim, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Girgashites, and the Jebusites. So, a fucking covenant, a motherfucking.
What's the translation for covenant? What is, like, they keep saying that he makes it like it's like a contract. It seems like it's a contract.
Totally. It's an agreement, right? Like, if you hold up this side, I'll do this. And
so, like, yeah, go ahead.
No, you go. I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah. In a vision. What's the translation for vision?
Okay, let's look that up. That's up in the beginning.
I think he's just smoking MT all day. like that. Like it's part. This is before. Like he's not a Jewish person. He's not a person of the Jewish faith. Okay, because this is before the Jewish faith, right? He's supposedly the
Abram?
Yeah.
He's like this is like, they have essentially tied Abram back to
God
to Adam and Eve, and and he still
Noah.
walks, and Noah.
So Abram, it was Abram Noah's kid.
Abram,
or is he?
Yeah, he's one of the offsprings, right? He's
Or no, he was.
And by the way, in vision,
yeah.
In a vision, this is the only occurrence of it in the Bible. Is this verse?
What?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
This is the only place in a vision shows up.
With this word that I can't read. Yeah.
What do you mean?
Well, it's like Bamahezek.
It's a translation.
Yeah, in the original Hebrew,
okay.
This is the only place this word of vision is used in the whole
Is there
Bible.
is there a better definition, or is it just vision? Is that the definition?
No, it's just like,
because what the hell does that mean? Like, that's this whole thing that we're talking about, is like people didn't just, like, what's he doing? How's he getting this vision? Is he what did you call your pipe, Hezekiah?
we should call this Hezekiah. I called it Gandalf, but
Gandalf. Okay, yeah.
I like Hezekiah.
Okay. It's like, is he smoking Hezekiah? It's like, what does he got? Because it's like, I think that, I don't know. It's so weird how, like,
it might help if you. So this guy lived supposedly 2000 BCE. But these
or
stories,
whenever. I think it's
Yeah.
really. I
you
think
want to
like
keep it in the folklore.
well, not necessarily like you.
I'm
If
down.
you if but if you're gonna, I don't mind you saying he lived, but I don't think you can put a date on it. Like it could have been before the last ice age. These are those stories that pass through every. So like this guy's dad, or this guy's
So
direct family was Noah, and every religion on the planet has a Noah, has a flood story, right?
But so one of the things that's pretty should be noted about this culture, they have really great genealogies. Obviously, we've encountered that a little bit already, right? Because right, but
Right, yeah.
they know their family lineage pretty well over there, and so that's actually something we can kind of trust on. So I always see this guy as a guy that lived long enough ago, with enough renowned, with enough wealth status, cool adventures and stories that they can tie their religion to, right? These, because there's two major religions that do come from this guy. And if we see now, you know, right here, God promises him this land and says it's for him. And as we live today, they're still fighting over it, right? Like, so it's pretty. This guy might. I think it's fair to say that this might be like how Judaism gets into history. It's like, because there's a lot of these dates and these times. They're all real. You can find these kings, and a lot of them, most of them, almost all of them line up, right? So it's
But it also says that he's like lives to be 700 years old.
But remember when we talked? Because remember when I talked about that weird archaeologist who had that experience with one of the diggers, and right here when he's like, bring 3 lambs, 3 goats, 3 sheep, these. I think all the numbers back then are symbolic. I think they're I think it's probably if we lived back then, I think those numbers tell even a deeper part of this story. You'd understand that there was a different angle, right? So I don't think they actually do mean that he was 900. I think. Oh, sorry.
Well, but
came up.
and I will sign off on that. No, I was just saying that I can totally see. I mean, a lot of this is we we have to, don't we have to decide what the fuck we're reading?
I'm so glad. I'm so happy to do this with you.
Well,
because
this
right.
is him talking to God,
dude.
And David didn't, or Abram didn't write this.
Mm-mm. This is way after he died.
Way after he died.
Probably about 1,000 years.
Okay. All right.
That's why I was trying to go back to the real date, but you kept stopping me because, so he lives back then, but these stories are written 500 BCE, right? So there's 1,000 years gap of when this guy lived and these stories are written.
And it's just being conveyed orally.
Yeah. Oral, I believe what it is, mouth to ear. Yeah. Mouth to ear. And
I think that's illegal in most countries, but let's just assume that that's what was going on.
Yeah,
fucking creeps. But so
it's dude.
The part where they're talking to God, we have to decide, because we can't just. I mean, there's a lot of talking to God, and I want to say that I think every time people are talking to God,
yeah,
in a long, and then God said, and then Abraham said, it's either figurative or it's psychedelic. It's one or the other. It can't be. I mean, there's not a third choice where it's he's actually having a conversation, just God comes down to him in, I don't even know, George Burns and John Denver. It's not. It isn't this. Although that's hilarious. Did we ever make that connection that maybe it was George Burns, an old shuffling guy who you can hear coming? And
No, I don't think we made the George. No. Well, think about what if it was imagine you're really limited in sending your information to the future, right? Intact at least, right? Because it's stories that all these are coming to us through, right? And there wasn't any way to write them down. Okay.
Yeah.
And then someone like fucking Tom Cruise like lived, and he was just a fucking badass. You know what I'm saying? And like, it's like a movie star and this or that. And then stories about him got passed down for 1,000 years. They're going to get fucking twisted and manipulated and exaggerated. I don't know. I mean, maybe something like that, right? So like, maybe he was just an average Joe.
I think you're totally right that he was probably he'd have been a super rich guy because nobody remembers poor people.
No.
You know, it's like,
Well,
so I
Jesus.
totally right. Okay.
Poor as fuck.
What's that?
He was poor as fuck.
Yeah, but not as poor as his brother,
Nope.
right? You know,
Didn't
like,
live as long.
Yeah. Yeah. So no, I and all the movies, all the all the period pieces that you watch, everybody's always talking about, oh, write songs about us. Well, you know, our names will echo throughout history.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, it's the people who are rich or great warriors, and I totally sign off on that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure this guy was around because we're still talking about him.
Yeah.
But the whole God thing.
Well, but
like,
it's like maybe they're just justifying, you know, what they want. Like, so they're like, you know, hey, like this really rad guy, God promised him this land, and that's why it's ours because we're his descendants. You know, it's like, it seems so easily to fit into just like the human side of like humans manipulating the story.
Totally, but that leads right into the New Testament just being a bunch of bullshit. And Christ isn't really, you know, this doesn't really. He's not divine. He's just a dude. You know what I mean? It's like, and so like that's what we like. I don't like. We're starting in the Old Testament because this is the beginning of all of it.
All of it.
And so I feel like we have to, like, I know we haven't written the mission statement yet, but that's part of the thing where it's like, you know, we have to build our foundation as to like, what do we think?
Fuck? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what the fuck? And it's like, it's just ours. It's just me and you. It's like, well, what do you think? What do I think? What do you think? And so it's like, but it's like, it's going to drive me crazy if we don't sort out. Like, I would totally just say, okay, that what you just said is totally it. It's like the people, who followed this guy and told the stories, embellished it, and all of a sudden he's talking to God. When what it really was is he was like, I really want this land, or, you know, they were like, whatever it is, you know, like, I would totally sign off on that. And it's just, but then we have to sort of like follow that. We have to like follow that as a ground rule when we're, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Does that make any sense at all? Because if we're going to just if we don't, like, I just feel kind of lost about what's actually happening. Like, dude, I just want to, like,
welcome to Christianity. Welcome to the fold, brother. Welcome.
But I don't have faith. I don't have the faith.
I'm not a Christian. Well, I mean, not the way fundamentalists are. I'm not trying to say that. I'm saying, like, this is the problem with everything. There is no systematic theology represented in these holy scriptures. There are stories we can discuss, we can chew on, we can break down, and that's it. And there's so many, and they're so vast. We talk about this. It's hard. It's motherfucking hard. And I've done this every day of my life alone. And so you have no idea how fun this is to have someone fucking here, because you are like, I'd be reading this, you know, imagine like really tired with like 3 shots of espresso or something, you know, and like be like, what the fuck?
Right.
You know, and why does it have to be 3? Why, like, what's so sacred about that number?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. No. And so we're going to have this list of things. It's like all numbers represented some sort of like aren't number, you know, it's like they're not their face value. It's like you're saying, like and then anytime it says vision, that's code word for
drugs,
psychedelic experience, you know.
Well, the numbers thing, let's stay there for 1 second, because think about it, like the number 40 is repeated over and over and over and over and over and over. They're lost in the wilderness for 40 years. The flood happens 40 days and 40 nights. Jesus is in the desert for 40 days. Like that's not, I don't think that can literally be each one of those times was 40 days.
Right.
There's some,
right.
you know, if an event took place at all, like obviously some type of catastrophic.
It was 40 days. They're like
Maybe that's code word for like 40 is like a shitty number, and so you know it was like turmoil during those days. You know, maybe it was something to like add to this to the literature of the stories, right? Because like, and the weirdest part is we're still fighting about it forever. Everyone's just like, and this is where denominational lines get drawn in churches because they'll interpret certain different parts of the Bible differently, and that's like, no, we're Presbyterians, and this kind of stuff. Do we want to keep reading on?
I mean, there's just a bunch to unpack with that thing with the whole kids, but I don't feel like
the kids.
I like
here yet.
moving through it. I like moving through it.
Yeah, because I think you've been saying a couple things that like get even weirder as we go on. So let me take a hit.
All right.
Because I think I can get you to rant.
Well, you want me to read 16?
Yeah, you want to?
Yeah.
Yeah, do it.
Okay. So Genesis 16. Sarai, Abram's wife, had borne him no children. She had an Egyptian maidservant whose name was Hagar. Uh-oh. And Sarai said to Abram, "Look, the Lord has kept me from bearing. Consort with my maid, perhaps I shall have a son through her." And Abram heeded Sarai's request. Heeded Sarai's request. Man. So Sarai, Abram's wife, took her maid Hagar, the Egyptian. So Sarai, Abram's wife, took her maid Hagar the Egyptian, after Abram had dwelt in the land of Canaan 10 years, and gave her to her husband Abram as concubine. He cohabitated, air quotes, cohabitated with Hagar, and she conceived. And when she saw that she had conceived, her mistress was lowered in her esteem. And Sarai said to Abram, "The wrong done me is your fault. I myself put my maid in your bosom. Now that she sees that she is pregnant, I am lowered in her esteem. The Lord decide between you and me."
Remember that Lord is Yahweh too. Whenever you see the Lord like that, it's Yahweh.
And Abram said to Sarai, "Your mind is in your hands. Deal with her as you think right." Then Sarai treated her harshly, and she ran away from her. An angel of the Lord found her by a spring of water in the wilderness, the spring on the road to Shur, and said, "Hagar, slave of Sarai, where have you come from, and where are you going?" And she said, "I am running away from my mistress Sarai." And the angel of the Lord said to her, "Go back to your mistress and submit to her harsh treatment." And the angel of the Lord said to her, "I will greatly increase your offspring, and they shall be too many to count." The angel of the Lord said to her further, "Behold, you are with child, and shall bear a son. You shall call him Ishmael, for the Lord has paid heed to your suffering. He shall be a wild ass of a man." He shall be a wild ass of a man, his hand against everyone, and everyone's hand against him. He shall dwell alongside of all his kinsmen. And she said, "The Lord who spoke to her," and she called the Lord who spoke to her, "You are El Roi," by which she meant, "I have not gone on seeing after he saw me." Whoa.
Yeah, that's such a different translation in everyone else's Bible, by the way.
Yeah.
So weird.
Therefore, the well was called Birlasha Roy. It is between Kadesh and Bared.
Nice.
Herod bore a son to Abram, and Abram gave the son that Hagar bore him the name Ishmael. Abram was 86 years old when Hagar born to Ishmael to Abram. So Sarai says I can't have a kid.
Yeah.
Get with my maid.
Yeah.
He does.
Yeah.
She gets pregnant, and then Sarai gets pissed off at the maid because the maid thinks
she's
you're
jealous.
like fuck you. She says that the maid is treating me different, right?
Well, because so back then in marriage contracts that we find in Mesopotamia from back then, if a woman cannot offer the husband a male child, they are obligated by law to give them their handmaiden or nurse. So this is actually a custom, and like it would have been known. So like,
but does she still retain her wifedom?
mm-hmm.
She's still the wife. So
oh yeah, the polygamy runs rampant for the next couple chapters. It's pretty fun. There's a lot of fucking.
well, but is the maidservant still just a concubine? Like she's not another. Is she another? Does she turn into another wife, or she's like just property?
I feel bad for Hagar. Hagar is like one of my favorites, and kind of like so sad. It gets even gnarlier for her. So this story is just one of them, because same thing happens with Isaac, and the same thing happens with, as we go on the stories, everyone has multiple wives. And so, it's not uncommon for this time for this to happen, because Sarai was barren. So she had, well, so keep trying to remember. So that would, this is just kind of like, you would know this about that. So, but it's also so fucked up. And
it seems pretty. But does she like? Because and the other thing,
she eventually departs the story. She's here for a couple chapters.
What about the part where the Lord's angel goes and finds her on the road?
Yeah, it happens again too, I think.
There's some divine creature still rolling around, right? It's like they're not like floating,
and that
they're not winged.
Yeah, it's 64 times that word angel is used in the Bible.
Yeah, and
it is. Well, it starts to morph. It starts becoming more descriptive, but as of right now, it's just any manifestation of God. It's like this. I mean, you could say maybe the burning bush is going to be an angel soon. It might be from the same. No. We'll get to it, because we'll parse the words. But she notice she brings up the deity's name as El, right?
Yeah.
So we're still rolling in this, like, right, Elroy, right, in verse 13.
Do you know that my sidebar?
Yeah.
My dad is, fuck, I can't say. I'll tell you later. Elroy's a family name.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So my dad is like blah blah blah. His middle name is Francis, and he's the third. So he's like blah blah blah, Redding the third.
Yeah.
The last guy who wasn't the same, his middle name was Elroy. Instead of Francis, it was Elroy. So the original guy. So my dad would have been the fourth if they'd all been Elroy. Going back to the Civil War. If I would have known Elroy was a family name, my son's middle name would totally be Elroy.
Dude.
I might have named him Elroy anyway. What a dope name.
Dude.
Yeah. Sidebar.
You need an El Camino if you got that name. Right?
I don't know. Is that how that works?
I love those.
Do you?
Sure. If you can pimp them out, they're fucking badass.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
It's a car and it's a truck.
You gonna fuck with someone in one of those? No way.
No, you're not. Yeah. My sister had a thing about El Caminos when she was only assholes drive El Caminos.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
But like these stories, like, you know, you start feeling bad for, I can't, this, who
Well, and
becomes Sarah. I can't, how do you say her? I forget her name. But
Sarai,
like,
just like Mary or
well,
Jerry.
yeah, but her name is Sarai, and it's so hard to memorize
Says
that over
you.
the
How do you
years.
know it's Sarai?
That's how they pronounce it there. And
Who's
then it
they?
changes to Sarah.
Who's
Hebrews?
they? What?
Jewish
Hebrews?
people?
Well, my friend's name is Sari, and she is a Jewish person.
There we go. So
And
we're
I
trying
think-
to honor her, but I keep fucking it up.
Yeah, that's all right.
It's my fault. It's my fault.
Well,
So,
I'm going against years. Then there's part though where the angel of the Lord found her. It's like, hey, what are you doing? Go
yeah.
back and get beat on some more.
Yeah.
Go back to your mistress and submit to the harsh treatment. And the angel of the Lord said to her, I will greatly. So like, does the angel tell her you're going to have a bunch more kids? I will greatly increase your offspring, and it'll be too many to count.
And it gets, there's more to the story, but she essentially seems to be sharing in the righteousness of Abram because this.
What does that mean? What does that mean?
Let's think about it because.
And what does
we can-
righteousness mean when you say that? What do you mean?
Well, they accounted to him as merit when it says here when God. It was in 15. There's a lot of.
15 what?
Let me look it up. There's a lot of repeating themes of this guy, Abram, who becomes Abraham, being like someone who walks with God. He's righteous. And Abram acted and believed, and God accounted it to him as righteousness. I'm trying to find that.
Oh, no, I remember that. So, like, but what are you saying? She gets it.
So
Like she's righteous? Like they,
yeah. So Abram is like Noah, is this like man who walks with God somehow, and because of that, a great nation is going to come to him. Now, because of this marital contract, God promises him an heir, right? And he has that argument with him, and God says, "No, your own issue." Like from you and this marriage you're gonna have an heir, and he's old, so he doesn't believe it. But now that he has slept with Hagar and they had a child, a male child, because that comes from Abraham, he's going to be blessed too. But he's going to be kind of a dick, obviously. Like
he's going to be a wild ass.
He's going to be a Quentin Tarantino film out in the motherfucking desert. Right. Yeah, and he is a prophet. And this might be that angle of that could even just be a dig. Maybe these two religions have been fighting for longer than we think, right? Like,
which two religions?
Ishmael, excuse me.
Judaism and
Muslims. Yeah. And I don't feel I haven't read the Quran. I have a lot of Muslim friends. They're fucking awesome. I haven't read it, so I can't really comment on it, but I do know that they like see this person, Ishmael, as a prophet, like a Muslim prophet.
Right.
So it's kind of like a pretty cluttered stage too, because now we have like two girls. He's got fucking, this guy's Jay-Z-ing it up in this bitch. Like he's got two girls because he's still married, and now he's got the handmaiden. And
Jay-Z has two girls?
Not anymore. I'm always living in that big pimpin' reference that we dropped like a couple episodes ago.
Oh.
Because that's my favorite
Giga
song.
Man, Pimp C, B-U-M-P. I have no idea what those words are, and so I just always make them up.
Did you go all the way through 16?
I did.
Yeah, okay. So, I mean, again, I know this might be a fast pace, but what if I read 17 real quick? Because they're all about the same story, so it might bring some completion to some of this. So when we left off on 16, Abram was 86 years old, and right now, verse 1, 17. When
previously.
Previously. Pan fact. When Abram was 99 years old, the Lord appeared to Abram and said to him, I am El Shaddai. Walk in my ways and be blameless, bitch. I will establish my covenant between me and you, and I will make you exceedingly numerous. Abram threw himself on his face, and God spoke to him further. As for me, this is my covenant with you. You shall be the father of a multitude of nations, and you shall no longer be called Abram, but your name shall be Abraham. For I make you the father of a multitude of nations. Lots of repetitive work here. I will make you exceedingly fertile and make nations of you, and kings shall come forth from you. I will maintain my covenant between me and you and your offspring to come as an everlasting covenant throughout the ages, to be God to you and to your offspring to come. I assign the land you sojourn in to you and your offspring to come, all the land of Canaan as an everlasting holding. I will be their God. I want to look up that one because what's the El Shaddai thing, right?
Yeah, what the hell is that?
What the fuck?
That's some other dude already?
El Shaddai, El Shaddai, Anu Anunai. There's like a church song.
Is it? I thought you were making fun of the
No,
dumb ways to die.
no, that's pretty close
Dumb
melody.
El Shaddai. Dumb El Shaddai.
No, it's like a church. I used to lead worship, so. So, I'm looking this up. Yeah, this is, dude, like, how is this never talked about in churches, right? Like,
Is this a third god?
no, it's like, it seems to be, so El is a Canaanite god, I believe, or maybe Mesopotamian. It's like way older than all of them, I believe. I think he's the first. And he pops in here, and he comes in this compound thing with Elohim, right, in chapter 1.
Wait. What?
El, this god Elohim.
Is different from El Shaddai? Wait, is El different from Elohim?
Yeah.
Are those two different guys?
Yeah.
Yes?
I think so, yeah.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
You think?
Yeah, but we're going in deep here.
I need an answer. Like, what do you mean
Every
you
time I
think?
use this shit, it cuts you out. So give me 1 second.
All right.
Because, yes, like, I'm pretty fucking baked. In the Northwest Semitic use, El was both a generic word for any god and a special name for a title or particular god who was distinguished from other gods from being God. So this title...
Say that again. Read that
In
again.
the Northwest Semitic use, El was both a generic word for any god and the special name or title of a particular god who was distinguished from other gods as being the God. So that's what I'm saying, and we're both freaking out about, because I've never really been able to look at this shit through clear eyes, right? It's always at a Bible study, and this L
is sort of like
fucking thrown around like a volleyball.
It sort of sounds like His Majesty.
It's Zeus. It's like
it's a title. It's like His Majesty King Henry VIII.
Right, but what people are using it for in these contexts is like the God above gods, and so you see like El Shaddai, Elohim. You see all these different versions of El being thrown in together, and it's like, go ahead.
I just think, but so if I think that each of those Elohim, like those are different guys, and El is just the God. Like, I mean, they're all on the same level as each other, and somebody is saying He's our God. He's like,
Yep.
So yeah, so we're saying the same.
Yeah,
So it's
we're
like
saying
His
the same thing.
Majesty. It's like he's the highest it gets in the higher. Yeah, okay. So
And
yeah,
but it's just
so
so
anytime they're saying
crazy.
L,
Yeah.
yeah, anytime they're saying L, if it's just L, they're talking about whoever that guy, like whoever was telling this story, is the one that he doesn't. He thinks it would be redundant to say Elohim because he's a guy of Elohim,
Or,
right?
Hagar
Is that
maybe
sort of
comes from the land, and that's showing, where, it might be, like Melchizedek's a good example because he keeps using Elohim. And then, what's his name? Not Moses. Gosh dang it, I got high.
Ishmael, Abraham.
Abram goes, no, Yahweh, that kind of thing. So it's like maybe it's a
yeah,
regional thing. So we're going to take it like that. Like it's like this
yeah.
is
Okay,
must
good.
be part
That
of
makes
their
sense.
poetry, right? Yeah.
Well, and again, this is before. This isn't Judaism. This is the
Yeah.
birth. This is what
Yes.
Judaism is based on.
Yeah.
And Judaism is the first monotheistic,
Yeah.
right? That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
all of this. So there's a bunch of gods, and not only are there a bunch of gods, there's a bunch of divine motherfuckers rolling around, doing the doing the work of like like. Do you think when it says the angel of God?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that's a separate entity?
Yeah, I mean,
They already said the word divine.
I don't. But if you're reading this,
you
how
don't?
do you? Well, in my heart, like I just think it's like, well, how can any of us fucking understand God? Is my real point. And so it's like so silly to think that like, it's like it's like a chunk of God fell off and had wings and came down and helped you a little bit. Like it's still God. It's just. I don't know what that is. I don't know if it's real. I like to think it is.
But you're signing off on wings, though.
No. I was just trying to be funny. Yeah, no, I was just trying to not be boring. But like, because angels are stupid. Like, for instance, like I started watching that OA show on Netflix.
The what?
The OA.
Do you love it?
Well, I did until I found out she was an angel, and now I feel like I've been honey-dicked into watching like Touched by an Angel, and I'm afraid to go any further. Is it good?
How many episodes did you get into?
We stopped right when I found out she was an angel, not because of anger, but
Isn't that the first season? Is it like the end of the first season?
Yeah. No, it's like halfway through maybe.
Oh well, the thing is, there's only 2 seasons, and then they canceled.
Is it good?
So it's like it's so good. It's so good.
I'll finish it.
Well,
yeah, because like
actually, spoiler: the end of the first season. I think you're not at the end of the first season.
No.
It's a little like what? That's it. It's a little like that. But the thing is, it does like the concept they're going for is fucking. It goes multiverse. I'll just say that.
Oh, cool. Wow.
Yeah, okay. It's super dope.
Well, you kept me
I'm
interested.
so bummed. Yeah.
Okay.
There's a little. I mean, the angel thing.
And maybe that helps. Maybe you just help me unpack how I'm feeling with it, because like we've said before, like I was pretty deeply atheistic until I did have psychedelic experiences. And that's what I was trying to get to earlier in the podcast. Is like,
Right.
when you have a spiritual experience and you like something in this reality, you seem to push past it.
Right.
It could just even be a feeling, it's so they could be very vague. What is that? How do you describe that? And so
Goosebumps. What the fuck is that? Where you think about something and it like overwhelms you to the point where it like it raises the skin on your skin.
Do you know that? Do you know about Maslow's hierarchy of needs? Have you ever heard of that?
I used to smoke weed with Maslow.
Yeah. So one of mine is like, I have to, like one of my goals every day is to get goosebumps every day. It's usually
I don't know Maslow. I don't know the Maslow thing. What is Maslow?
It's really cool. It's like this. It's this. He's a psychiatrist. He's a psychologist, I believe, and he has this diagram of a human being, and essentially what they need to be a decent human being or to even be a functioning human being. There's like sleep, food, and it has all those things. And so you can find where some of these could be out of balance in a human and usually fix a lot of their problems, right? Like, for instance, me, I only slept an hour a night forever because I was working so many jobs for about 20 years, whatever, you know. So, like, once I fixed that, it fixed a lot of my other problems, right? So it's like, as a human, you're going to have to get a certain amount of stuff for yourself to be baseline, to be good. And so, like, one of those for me is Goosebumps. So I have to, like, listen to a song that, like every day I want that
Take it there.
feeling, you know? Yeah, it's the best. It's crazy. It's like, it's almost like novelty or something, you know, like it feels like you're experiencing it for the first time, even though you maybe it's just Inner Sandman that fucking day. You have no idea, you know, but it's like,
Well, but that's what I think when someone asks me that's spiritual. Like, and I don't know, get it. Kind of woo.
I love it.
It's a little woo, but it's like, but that's where I think, like, if you want proof, that's my only proof.
Yeah.
Where there's something more. There's an antenna where we're kind of an antenna.
Yeah.
And when we hit the right, and we resonate when we hit it, when it hits us, we're like, just for a second.
A vibration.
You know? Yeah.
You know, like, yeah, dude, like, one of the weirder, you know, I want to go back to the Abraham story, but maybe we edit this out because I just wanted to go here. But we were like scrapping, playing in Rockaroke for all those years, remember? And the weirdest thing happens when we got to play. Every Monday was like 1,300 people, and it was a live karaoke band. And you get to watch what songs hit an audience which way, because you're playing 4 hours every Monday for like fucking 8 years. You know, and it's like we would slay like the Trooper, or like we would really kill like a fucking Judas Priest song, or like, you know, and the crowd would be kind of pumped. But then you play like Santeria, and like every human, like a wave, just like starts dancing horribly, and like, you know, it's like, what the fuck is that? And like, Don't Stop Believing, and like that Black Velvet song, like what, like white women just like losing their minds instantly every time, without pause, without it wavering every time.
Unabashed.
You know, it's like, what is that? You can't. It's hard to quantify.
It's not random. What is that noise back?
Oh, that's
that some feedback?
that's my dobro. I coughed at a certain frequency. It's right here. So the resonator.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So we stopped right before it got good. Okay. So like,
What number are we on?
I think we're on 17. I'm going to say 9. Let's pick up from 9. We stopped right around there. But we see here that, like, yeah, like you mentioned, God is like a dude, and he's making a covenant with this guy, saying, if you do this, I'll do this. I'm going to make you a great nation, but you're going to obey me, essentially, right? And as we get further into it, right here, Genesis 17, 9, God further said to Abraham, as for you and your offspring to come throughout the ages shall keep my covenant. Such shall be the covenant between me and you, and your offspring to follow, which you shall keep. Every male among you shall be circumcised. You shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and that shall be the sign of the covenant between me and you.
Fucking creep.
Throughout.
Fucking creep, man. Jesus fucking Christ.
It's going to get
You
better.
know what? So let me see this. Let me get this straight. Let me fucking get this straight. Hell does not show up in the Bible, but he wants us to fucking cut our dickheads off. God damn it. Go ahead.
Yeah,
I guess.
I'm trying to. Okay, and throughout the generations, every male among you shall be circumcised at the age of 8 days. As for the homeborn slave, and the one brought from an outsider who is not of your offspring. So anyone, they must be circumcised, homeborn, and purchased alike. Thus shall my covenant be marked in your flesh as an everlasting pact. And If any male who is uncircumcised fails to circumcise the flesh of his foreskin, that person shall be cut off from his kin. He has broken my covenant. And God said to Abraham, as for your wife, Sarai, you shall not call her Sarai, but her name shall be Sarah. I will bless her. Indeed, I will give you a son by her. I will bless you. I will bless her so that she shall give rise to nations. Rulers of people shall issue from her. Abraham threw himself on his face and laughed, as he said to himself, "Can a child be born to a man?" Is everything freaking out?
No.
Okay, good. I'm getting a bunch of weird audio. Abraham threw himself on his face and laughed, as he said to himself, "Can a child be born to a man 100 years old? Or can Sarah bear a child at 90? And Abraham said to God, "Oh, that Ishmael might live by your favor." God said, "Nevertheless, Sarah, your wife, shall bear you a son, and you shall name him Isaac. And I will maintain my covenant with you." Oh, what the fuck? Sorry, I just freaked out on us. I don't know why I did that. There we go. Dude, I don't know. Maybe it means we're doing something right, but sometimes there's like ghosts in the machine. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Shit just does shit. 19. God said, "Nevertheless, Sarah, your wife, shall bear you a son, and you shall call his name Isaac. And I will maintain my covenant with him as an everlasting covenant for his offspring to come. As for Ishmael, I have heeded you. I hereby bless him. I will make him a fertile and exceedingly numerous. He shall be the father of 12 chieftains, and I will make him a great nation. But my covenant I will maintain with Isaac, whom Sarah shall bear to you at this season next year." And when he was done speaking with him, God was gone from Abraham. Okay, I'm just going to try to finish it so we can riff. There's not much. Then Abraham took his son Ishmael and all his homeborn slaves and all those he had brought, every male in Abraham's house, bought, and he circumcised the flesh of the foreskins on that very day, as God had. Abraham was 99 years old when he circumcised the flesh of his foreskin.
His own foreskin? This guy's a... Wow.
And his son Ishmael was 13 years old when he circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. And Abraham and his son Ishmael were circumcised that very day, and all his household, his homeborn slaves, and those that had been bought from outsiders were circumcised with him.
I'll tell you what, I don't see a reality where a 13-year-old kid is going to let a 99-year-old dude cut his dick off.
Well, they were pretty savage back then, though, maybe, right? Because like it's still obviously in practice.
Well, yeah. So like, and so
where
yeah,
this
where
comes
this
from?
Yeah. Well, I guess that's the one, huh?
Yeah. What the fuck?
Creepy God, man! What a fucking creepy dude. He doesn't even explain. He doesn't even fucking explain it, right? There's no explanation here.
I mean, well, like maybe because it's so brutal, right? Maybe he wants people to like maybe following God is maybe this whole thing is supposed to be symbolic of life, you know? And it's like
Maybe he
life's
didn't really
fucking
mean cut your dick.
brutal. Yeah, just better, you know.
Here's how.
I
don't know.
Have you ever heard that, like, eat the toad first thing in the morning? Like, do the hard thing? No. It's like a saying because like it's gross and it's the hardest thing you can do. So once it's done, like the rest of the day is going to be great, you know? Oh, so maybe this was like that back then. I don't know.
It hurts my feelings, dude. It's like...
I mean, it definitely could have just been for like... it definitely could be for like... sanitary reasons, because you know they're living.
No, that's
how
fine.
Are they
I
living
get
back
that.
Then,
why are they blaming it? Why are they blaming it on God?
Well, maybe it
Like-
sucks so bad you got to have a reason, otherwise.
Like it's only like the people won't do it unless they think they're going to
Yeah.
be smited or
Yeah,
withered
because
if they don't.
even the dick rotting off isn't enough back then. They don't care.
Yeah, which is again is like, okay, so who was it? No, I got it. I know how we can get him to do it. Maybe that was the whole long con on God at all. It's like we gotta invent some guy. We gotta invent some father figure who's gonna tell us to do this. It's like some doctor, some shaman back in the antiquity who like figured out, no, we gotta cut this thing off. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
we're gonna have to cut some things open first. We're gonna have to, bring the sacrifice of lambs and shit into the fold, and then slowly we'll unfold the part where you got to cut your foreskin off. slowly.
And
Too
like
soon.
that's
Too
my
soon.
favorite part of like. There's a lot of dick coming up. There's lots of dicks in the Bible. It's really weird. Like, it's a repetitive theme. So like, and we have here a lot more going on too, because the story is like evolving intensely, right? Like they got their names changed. Like,
What's so intense about that?
well, that must signify some type of like rebirth, right? And like, because these people are like old and God's promising him this thing. So that like, it must be that's like when Prince changes his name to a symbol or something, right? There's gotta be some big
is
event.
that the thing? Is that why Muslims get their name changed when they convert?
I have no idea.
Like Lou Alcindor turns into Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Cassius Clay turns into Muhammad Ali.
I have no idea. I'm really interested and I'm excited to study that shit because I haven't yet, but it's going to be soon. But I'm working on this for us. So
Yeah. So,
I'm sorry, it's a lot of work.
yeah. We'll get there. Hopefully.
Yeah. We're just
Maybe when we're 110, we'll get there.
Yeah, we'll go through Bhagavad Gita too.
Did you give it? Are we saying that? Ishmael is born when Sarah is like 90.
Yeah, but he's not born from Sarah, right? He's born from her handmaiden Hagar.
No, Isaac. Sorry, Isaac. Mm-hmm. Isaac's born from her.
Yeah, but remember this thing I've never thought of, and it helps me a lot, is the numbers in these stories. I'm going to have to, if you don't take them as some weird symbology, you don't understand, it's fucking crazy. Yeah. And like we know these people's genealogies are really correct, so you can like use those to date a lot of these stories. But we know that they exaggerate numbers all the time. It's like numbers have a different meaning probably to these people than they do us, right? So like
probably.
To be honest, I bet she must be like 15. And they're like, she hasn't had a kid yet, and that's 90 to them. I totally went too stoned on that one. I'm gonna take that back.
No, I'm just like, we don't know.
We don't know
and you're leaning towards numbers are all kind of distorted for some weird reason, and that totally makes sense to me. But the part where you start talking about how like these are their lineages are as accurately as you could expect them to be for how old they are. Yeah,
but even that, they're pretty trustworthy among like it's because it has to do with there's a lot of rich history from this area of this is where writing comes from. So we have a lot of receipts. We have a lot of like their day-to-day lives, what it was like to be a Mesopotamian.
Where did you hear that?
From the shit they dig out of the ground. They have
where is it? Where did you see
what's his name? Rendsburg? Rosenberg? Gary Rosenberg? Is pretty damn good.
Oh, that's the guy. Okay.
That's the guy that teaches the lecture. Like, but he's there's plenty of other like even just archaeologists that we have like that's how we know about this thing with he was talking about with Eleazar earlier, where it's like my heir Eleazar is going to be I don't even have a kid because he doesn't have Ishmael yet, right? And that was like they find bunches of contracts between older men with no kids and a young boy that will, he essentially comes and lives with the older man and then inherits all his stuff when he dies. So it's kind of a win-win for both.
Right, but they don't have Eleazar contracts.
No, no, no. But these are common practices of the time. So with the numbers, it has to be like something we lost in
You can't say.
translation, right? Some type of cool symbology where it's like it could mean like something deeper. I'm trying to think of a
You
actual
can't say has to be.
analogy.
You can't say has to be.
Well, so you think he was 90 years old when he 100 years
I don't
old?
know. No, I'm saying we don't know, and maybe like I don't know. I think like wait, we're signing off on a talking snake. You know what I mean? Like, and, it's like we're signing off on this guy. It's like I don't know, man.
Yeah, dog.
But like the part that like the part that like, but the part where it's like, oh well, we're just. I love that you have ideas for it, and I can get behind that, but we have to live and we don't know. We don't know what the fuck they're talking
into
about.
that.
I totally get that the numbers for some reason must be wonky.
It's wonky.
There's something going on there.
Yeah.
It's wonky, but to be like, it has to be this. It's like it has to be that there's some.
I shouldn't
code.
draw absolutes. I don't
That's all
mean
I'm
to,
saying.
but I'm
That's-
just
that's
like,
all, I know you don't. I know
yeah,
you
because
don't.
I'm
That's
like,
all I'm
man,
saying.
how else how the fuck can you like Jesus Christ?
I
This
know,
stuff
and I hate to like fucking be the absolute police, but it's like
oh, I like it.
that's the slippery slope down dogma.
Yeah, I
you know?
agree. Yeah.
And I don't want to. That's not what we're trying to do. Or
Fluid.
so that's just. I'll just shut up about it after that.
No, I
Unless
mean,
you do it. Unless you do it
I'm
again.
totally back up. Yeah.
And scene.
Yeah, and there's so much that happens in these chapters, and now that it's just bangers from here on out.
Yeah,
Like there's
now it's like hit.
yeah, dog. It's like
This is like listen to fucking Leonard Skinner from here on out.
yeah, Charlton Heston's showing up pretty soon.
Right.
Right, dude. I don't know if I've always like worked as if the devil was right behind my shoulder.
Because belief is 9/10 of the law, right? Ownership,
Dude.
whatever that possession,
Yeah.
and you've been possessed.
Yeah, and like, man, there was 3 years of my life that I would leave Jazz Bones on Monday night at like 1:30, and if I went home, I would have exactly 45 minutes to sleep, and then I'd have to leave again. So instead of going to Buckley, instead of going home, I'd just drive to the job site and sleep in a parking lot across from the job site for like 2 hours before I went to work.
I remember that because that's and I was telling you then we didn't know about none of us had seen the Joe Rogan podcast about sleep.
Yeah, I've not even seen the Joe Rogan podcast.
Right. Yeah. But it's like it just seemed crazy to me then. Although I kind of remember doing shit like I used to when I was living in my car. I was having this conversation. I think it was with Dave Place.
Okay.
Just about how much time I spent on the edge of society, sort of. Like I made music. Music came before a place to live.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So it was like, there were times where I sort of had a home. My stuff was somewhere, but like, was I paying rent? Did I feel comfortable with going there? Maybe not, and there was a while where I was definitely like, I had a Volkswagen camper.
Yeah.
And it was like, I had a living room everywhere I went. So and sometimes I didn't have that car, so it was just like, okay, well, I go to Shoreline Community. When I was going to Shoreline, I had money for school and music and not a place to live sometimes. So like, all right, well, I just go to Shoreline super early and shower. The thing about college gymnasiums and locker rooms is that the water doesn't get warm for like 2
really?
hours. You have to leave it on for like 2 hours. I'm like, oh, this sucks.
But I bet you your music didn't suck then.
No.
There's something weird about that. Like when you're like giving it that much, it's always yeah.
Well, and it seems like it's necessary. Like, I mean, or I don't know. It just everybody, it's fucked.
I don't think
you can't do when you're. Well, it's just something you can't do when you're old. You can't give that much.
No, but
I don't think.
But you can sacrifice other stuff and just be really strategic. You know, that's just the shitty part. Is like, you know, not Netflixing and chilling. You know, but I met
some Netflix and chill.
some. If you get older, you gotta fucking yeah. My first job where I like was around non-Christians, where I ever met someone who wasn't a Christian, you know, was at Starbucks in Maple Valley. And
Amazing.
right, and I was 18, and there was this guy that worked there. He becomes my best friend. He was crazy. His name's Brandon Ryan, and
Hey, Brandon.
hey Brandon, he was the first. He's like an actor, and he was the first like artist I met that like. He was like 17 and already had his own apartment, and you'd go in, and it was just like lines he was memorizing.
Right.
No furniture, just lines, like sometimes written on the wall. And, you know, he didn't drink, he didn't party, he just like worked on acting. And it was like the coolest shit to me. You know, and like I had met a couple band guys at this point because I had just started, like, I faked my way into my first band. And it was like you. It's like I worked construction, and then I went to band practice, or I put up posters, or there was like there wasn't anything. It was like you weren't just wearing the leather jacket, you know.
You wore the leather.
You are the leather.
You become. That totally reminded me of when I finally moved to Los Angeles in 2000 or whatever, because we got some money. I was like, you get to the point where all of a sudden you have you have resources and you can really do it that way. Only you have a place to live. You have a car. And the first time I had this apartment, it was the first time I've ever had my own place. First and only time, actually. And I don't remember why these guys came over. The buddy of mine who hooked me up with the place and his buddy, they're motorcycle dudes.
Okay.
They came in and we were in. And then I think I had a bed. You know, I probably had a shitty futon that I've been carrying around since the early 90s, late 80s maybe. You know, and after we left, I apologized to my buddy's friend, like, hey, so I know my place isn't. He's like, shit, dude, all I saw was drums and plane tickets. Seems like you're doing pretty good. It's like, oh, all right, well, I'll take that.
Yeah, being in that shit too. It's weird for me not being like that because it's only been since COVID, really. Because I was still touring in the country band until I came down here, so it was like still 4 or 5 nights a week you're playing a show, and like,
are those
Crawford?
Yeah,
he's still going. None of the OGs, none of the originals from when I was playing, but he's still, he'll go. He's doing great.
Yeah,
he's like one of the only he's like one of the only guys like him that I totally back. Like
that you what?
Totally back. I just love him. He's a good guy.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Like he was, lead singers typically are ridiculous.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
But
other than
yeah. So I love him. But when you go from that spot of being just fully devoted to this one thing where you're not even thinking about like bills or where you're going to eat, how you're going to eat, where you're going to sleep, and then you have a little bit of that, it goes a long way. Like my food budget, and this is including a baby, being a single dad with a 1-year-old, was $60 a month for like 3 years there, and like that's what we ate off of.
Your food budget?
Yeah, dog.
Jesus, dude.
I didn't even own a TV for 8 years.
Oh my God.
I was never home.
I remember when we're just doing war stories. I remember when when the first wife bailed.
Oh yeah.
Before she bailed, she had when she originally moved out, she hooked herself up on EBT, the state benefits. She went, I don't have any money. He's like, gave this big song and dance. And the only part of that when she left, when she went fully sideways and like off the grid, I needed to get that out of her name because it was his benefits. It was the kids' benefits.
Damn it.
It was her name.
Damn.
And they're like, well, you can do that, but you can't put it in his name. You have to put it in your name. And I was like, okay. That's on the table. And then you get the EBT card and it's like all of a sudden you're like, what? You're gonna give me 200 and some, you give me like some crazy amount of money every month that I can use at like any grocery store? Like, that's fucking
See, I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, I didn't either, because
I don't even know.
Because that's not the way we roll. It's like, oh, I'm not gonna go looking for, but some people are just like, what do I get for free?
Yeah, that always seemed like a golden cage. And like, this is coming from me, the weird fuck that grew up in the woods, right? And so I'm just being honest. But like, I think it's really beautiful. I know some people that have taken advantage of it for their families, and then they got, they're doing well now. Like they were in the poorhouse, they were basically evicted. They were evicted, and they had to go on a lot of state stuff, and now they're fucking killing it. They have businesses, So I'm totally for it. But just like growing up with my crazy parents, my crazy Republican parents who are like, I'd be like, wake up.
Bootstraps.
Yeah.
Bootstraps.
Like throwing up. They're like,
Find
go to
some
work.
fucking bootstraps.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like, there's no 6 days. There's no, you don't get vacation.
There's 7 days, bitch. Get to work.
Yeah. What about that one day God takes off? No, that's for you to do your projects.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
Speaking of heavy editing, it's been so awesome. I can't even tell you, for me to do this. It's this weird fucking thing that's happening. Cause like, before drugs, and I don't, it's not like psychedelics happen all the time, I wish they did, it's not like you do psychedelics all the time. Not like I do, at least. And, it's just like, I had such a mindset towards drugs. Like, I thought you were a piece of shit if you smoked weed. I thought you were a lazy failure, Yeah. And like, therefore, that's like triple anger towards psychedelics, towards anything harder, And
Jonah left his home in Tucson, Arizona for some California grass. That fucking Beatles thing is driving me crazy. It's so insane to sit there and watch Paul and Ringo and George and John be just four dudes knocking songs together, just like any other band. Only when they get done, they make gold fucking records. It's I didn't really, I wasn't the biggest fan of Paul McCartney, and now you just fucking have to give it up to that guy for just being just Jesus Christ. There's a scene where Ringo's talking about something to a suited guy, and John's talking about the set design with another guy, and Paul's over in the corner. You can hear him knocking out "Hey Jude" on the fucking just kind of working through it. It's a fucking.
You're phenomenal. Going off on that Beatles thing, huh?
Oh,
dude. I haven't watched it yet, but I saw Paul McCartney writing "Get Back."
Oh, dude, and like that's another one where like he's like, yeah, he like just basically, God, we need more songs, and John hadn't showed up yet, and so he's just like, dun, 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 and it's like, and like they do this all the time, like they're like they have some of the lyrics, but not all of them, like or not any of them, and they just start working on it, and they just fucking hammer it out, and Ringo just sits there, like I've sat there, just like, and my wife's like, he looks fucking stoned. He's like the caricature. Was he? He's like, no, he's just fucking, you know what he's not doing? He's not fucking blah, 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 blah. He's like letting Lennon McCartney do the Lennon McCartney thing. Yep. And he's allowed to be in the room because he can fucking facilitate. He can be that, like, you have to have someone there,
Yeah. Well, and Oh, so I didn't mean to interrupt.
Dude, like he does it, the Get Back one, but also there's this scene where I was just where they kind of taking a break, sort of, and Ringo's talking to some suit about something, because the whole thing is they were going to do this show. They were going to record the record live in front of people.
Oh wow.
And so they're learning all these songs, but while they're learning the songs, which they don't have any of at the beginning, like 3 weeks before the show, they don't have any of them. They start. They're also like designing the set and trying to figure out where they're going to do it. And so Ringo's talking about the location, and John's talking to some guy about the set design. And in the background, you hear, you hear McCartney sort of hammering out "Let It Be" on the piano, just like, I think I don't know, there might have something here. It's like one of the great,
Yes.
it's just fucking, and just to sit there and watch. We've all seen McCartney, in his later years being a guy, but like you never see John Lennon just fucking goofing around and like, yeah. But have you seen the Rolling Stones Rock and Roll Circus?
Yes.
Well, you know how he's in, then he does the introduction.
Yeah.
The whole time throughout this thing, he's going, and for tonight's entertainment, the Rolling Stones. Like he does that over and over. It's this hilarious, like running gag,
That's amazing.
It's so good to see that guy just be just a dude, a goofy,
Have you seen that clip floating around the internet of him like they're sitting there, he's in the chair with the guitar, and he reaches back in his pocket of his jacket and pulls out something, and then like sees the camera watching him and goes and puts it back.
No. What is it?
I'm gonna say it's drugs.
Yeah.
He's like laughing, like they're writing. He goes back to grab some Trina, and then he realizes,
That's awesome. Well, it looks like they're smoking joints pretty much the whole time.
Why would
Ringo looks fucking faded a lot of it. I'm not saying that he wasn't baked. I'm just saying.
I love Ringo. Are you not a Ringo guy?
Oh, well, I didn't grow up a Ringo guy because I grew up a Neil Peart guy and a Stuart Copeland guy and a John Bonham guy.
Yeah.
But you sit there and like, it's so crazy. Like, I don't understand what they're doing because I haven't gotten to the end where they're, but it seems like they're just, let's try one. They're just sitting around in a little circle, like hammering shit out. It's the most, just watching these, like you don't think of Let It Be or Jojo or Get Back
as being like done.
As you think of them as being as like they came into existence as a whole.
It was perfect right away.
Not true. Like watching him figure out the Tucson, Arizona line.
Oh, dude.
He had Jojo had a last name for Jojo something. Like it wasn't even Arizona at first. It was like, and then it was Arizona, and then it was something. Like, oh, we need somewhere in the Southwest, and so Arizona, and then it was like, and then he just kind of riffs Tucson. I'm like, oh my god, we just what? It's fucking phenomenal.
It's so crazy that we both had the same experience, but I watched that different clip. So it's Paul McCartney hammering out fucking Get Back, and like, excuse me, when I first got in a band, and like I first wanted to write a song. Well, what happened was I was 13 and I heard that song by the Offspring that was just the Beatles ripoff. The like da 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 da. Yeah, why don't you get a job? Yeah. And I was like, you got to be fucking kidding me.
You can just steal Obla D?
Yeah, so I just started trying to write songs then. Right. And they all sucked. But when you hear these masterpieces, you never think of them on the journey. They're just always completed. And he's like playing Get Back, and it's got like a different melody and a couple different chords. And it's like, but within 3 minutes, it's like fucking Get Back, and and it's like, well, what's right.
So it's crazy about that song is that you'll see it because he gets it like 75% of the way there. When they're in the first location, that big warehouse place.
Okay.
And then they get to the, and you'll see this, it's like, whatever. Then they get to the basement of the Apple, the building. They move a bunch of recording and they do that thing that's so hard to do when you like to get at the last 25% of the way there, where it's like, no, we should be a verse, chorus, solo, tag on the solo, verse, chorus, solo. They're doing that thing and they're like, it's that thing that's like, and you can see, how like sometimes you're like, let's just table this for a minute because we're getting too far in the weeds.
Sure.
You know,
Yeah.
like how like songs, the really good ones, they just kind of pop out or whatever. They're having to hammer. They're having to forge this one. They're having to like to get it. The you know the home stretch was not a no brainer. You know, like they had to hammer on it. It's like, and they just said no, it's fine. You know, and George had already quit and come back by that point. So it's like, and they're all calm, and it's like, dude, it's so amazing. It's amazing.
Dude, yeah. Like I've been getting goosebumps as you've been talking.
It's like I would have loved to have seen this, 30 years ago. This should have been available as soon as it came out, so that we'd all know. Oh,
how much better music would there be?
They're totally making Fire the Drummer jokes. They're talking about Ringo Starr. Like he like one of the locations that gets proposed is like this place in Africa, and they're like, but Ringo says he won't go overseas. He won't go overseas. And Paul or somebody said, well, maybe we'll have Isaac Player and play it then. Like maybe we'll it's like, oh, okay, the first fucking Fire the Drummer joke. It came from the Beatles, right? We should know this. And yeah, it's great. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to sidetrack. The other thing,
well, we could put it at the end or whatever. This is actually, I mean, we could tie it in by saying this is how we got the Bible too.
Well, and also like the thing about when Lennon says, and this doesn't appear anywhere in the thing about when he says we're more popular than Jesus, it's like you couldn't even say shit like that. He almost got deplatformed. He was almost the first guy to get deplatformed.
He got killed. I mean, the guy that shot him instantly sat down and put his hands behind his back after he shot him.
Fact check.
Mark Chapman, did he do that?
I'm sure I don't know.
Man, see, I just took too much of a bong hit to fucking talk about this shit. But he's like John Lennon, Zach Davidson, Bowie, favorite songwriters.
Zach's in between John Lennon and David Bowie.
I think he's the fucking best, dude. He shits. Okay. We'd be like staying at someone's house somewhere, and he'd be shitting really loudly and just hum out like the coolest melody, and he's like, yeah, and the guitar would be like do 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 ba 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 ba, like he writes songs like he's so goddamn good at it. Like, so
my question is, and this isn't meant to be anything other than the reality we live in. If a tree fall, if a song is written and nobody hears it,
yeah, is
it a good song?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. I think so. Because, like, you don't know the impact do you think Robert Johnson would have known that every motherfucking guitar player is still ripping him off in a certain genre? I mean,
well, but everybody's heard those songs.
But he didn't know that was going to happen. He died before all that happened, right? And to be honest, that's what I think. It's kind of like these stories in the Bible. Good shit rises to the top forever. If you capture a moment correctly with a song, good melody, good lyrics, great rhythm, and you can capture that, like, I think it's lasts a lot longer than anything else. And now what happens is people that like that song, because it's so good, it becomes a part of their identity. So like you go tell people about that song because they've never heard it, and then it becomes this, so, like, do you remember that band The Refused?
Yeah.
It's that thing, that they broke up before that album did anything. It was like 7 years later that album was doing shit, right? And it was because all of us are just like, anyone you meet, you're like, have you heard the fucking, The Shape of Punk to Come? Like, you were just passing it around. And so, wasn't it like 16 years after they broke up, or after they did a world tour, and now they're selling out shit still? Like, good shit lasts. And yeah, you might yeah.
I'm just saying, what if that never happens?
If the song never gets written?
No, if the song never gets heard. If the song never gets a chance to resonate with anybody.
I just don't think that happens with the internet. I know everything's lost. I know everything's crazy. But all of us are like these little information scavengers or something. We all want to know what's cool. We all want to know what's hip. We all want to know what works, And so it might take forever, And it might be that some kid in Delaware in his basement right now making something filthier than License to Ill, but none of us are going to hear it in this generation. Who knows? But Spotify.
Why don't you fucking bite your tongue? Okay, that's not. Look, I try to be respectful about your Jesus Christ. I want you to be respectable about my Beastie Boys. I swear to God.
I love that shit.
I will get in my car and drive to Santa Monica. License to Ill.
Hey, I saved my story. I saved my shit story, and it's good. I'm going to tell you off air because it's really good. But
the other thing I gotta go.
Perfect. I think we did the best we can. Okay. Yeah. Goodbye, everyone. We love you.
Connection. Yeah, love you guys. Hey, don't.
Jeff and I love you all from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you so much for everything. We're really excited to keep doing this. See you next week. Smooches.